The summer of 1793 found Marie Antoinette in circumstances she could scarcely have imagined during her years as Queen of France. Confined within the cold stone walls of the Conciergerie prison in Paris, she lived under constant surveillance, stripped of the power, luxury, and status that had once defined her life. The grand halls of Versailles, where she had attended lavish balls and royal ceremonies, were now distant memories. Instead, her days were spent in a small, damp cell furnished with only the bare necessities. Guards watched her continuously, even at night, ensuring that every movement was observed. The French Revolution had transformed the nation beyond recognition. The monarchy had been abolished, and revolutionary leaders were determined to eliminate any remaining symbols of the old regime. Earlier that year, her husband, King Louis XVI, had been executed by guillotine, leaving Marie Antoinette alone to face an uncertain future. The loss weighed heavily upon her. Though she rarely displayed her emotions publicly, those who encountered her noticed the sorrow etched into her face and the exhaustion in her eyes. Outside the prison, public opinion remained fiercely divided. Revolutionary newspapers portrayed her as the embodiment of royal extravagance, accusing her of contributing to France's financial troubles and suffering. Many citizens referred to her with contempt, seeing her as a foreign-born queen who had never truly understood the struggles of ordinary people. Yet others quietly pitied her, recognizing the human tragedy unfolding behind the political drama. Despite her isolation, Marie Antoinette attempted to maintain the dignity expected of a queen. She spent hours reflecting on her life, her lost husband, and the uncertain fate of her children. Each passing day brought new rumors about what the revolutionary government intended to do with her. Deep within her heart, she understood that the chances of freedom were fading. The shadow of death seemed to draw closer with every sunrise, marking the beginning of the final and most difficult chapter of her life. Among all the hardships Marie Antoinette endured during her imprisonment, none caused her more pain than being separated from her children. As the French Revolution grew increasingly radical, the royal family was treated not only as political enemies, but also as symbols of everything the revolution sought to destroy. The queen had already lost her husband, and now she faced the heartbreaking reality of losing the daily presence of her children as well. The cruelest blow came when her young son, Louis Charles, was forcibly taken from her. Revolutionary officials believed that keeping the former heir to the French throne with his mother could inspire royalist sympathies. One day, guards entered and informed Marie Antoinette that the boy would be removed from her care. Witnesses later described the queen's desperate attempts to keep her son by her side. She pleaded, cried, and protested, but her words had no effect. The authorities carried out their orders without mercy. As the door closed behind her son, Marie Antoinette was left devastated. Louis Charles was placed under the supervision of revolutionary caretakers who sought to reshape him into a loyal citizen of the new republic. The queen knew little about his condition and feared constantly for his well-being. Every day brought fresh anxiety as she imagined the hardships he might be suffering. The uncertainty was almost unbearable. Her daughter, Marie-Therese, remained in prison nearby, but opportunities to communicate were rare. Even when they were close, prison regulations ensured that meaningful contact was nearly impossible. The silence between mother and daughter became another source of sorrow. Alone in her cell, Marie Antoinette often found herself reflecting on happier times. She remembered family gatherings at Versailles, moments of laughter, and the innocence of her children's early years. Those memories became both a comfort and a torment. While revolutionaries focused on destroying the monarchy, Marie Antoinette endured a deeply personal tragedy, the gradual loss of the family she cherished above all else. It was a suffering that no title, wealth, or royal privilege could have prevented. In October 1793, Marie Antoinette was brought before the Revolutionary Tribunal, where her fate would be decided. By this point, the atmosphere in revolutionary France had become increasingly hostile toward anyone associated with the former monarchy. The trial attracted enormous public attention, as many citizens viewed it as the final reckoning for a woman they believed had symbolized the excesses and failures of the old regime. Yet, from the moment the proceedings began, it was clear that the odds were stacked heavily against her. Prosecutors presented a long list of accusations. They claimed that she had conspired with foreign powers, secretly communicated with Austria, and encouraged military actions against France. She was accused of draining the nation's treasury through extravagant spending and betraying the interests of the French people. Some charges were based on real political events, while others relied heavily on rumor, speculation, and revolutionary propaganda. Nevertheless, the tribunal treated the allegations as evidence of her guilt. Throughout the trial, Marie Antoinette maintained remarkable composure. Though physically weakened by months of imprisonment and emotional suffering, she answered questions calmly and avoided displays of anger. Observers noted that she carried herself with dignity despite the constant attacks from prosecutors and spectators. She understood that every word she spoke was being scrutinized. The most shocking moment came when one prosecutor repeated a vile accusation involving her young son. The courtroom briefly fell silent. Even many revolutionaries considered the charge extreme. Marie Antoinette responded with restraint, stating that she refused to answer such an accusation because nature itself rejected it. She then appealed directly to the mothers present in the courtroom. Her response reportedly stirred sympathy among some observers who had otherwise opposed her. Despite these moments, the outcome was never truly in doubt. Revolutionary leaders believed that her execution was necessary to secure the Republic and eliminate any remaining royalist hopes. After days of testimony and deliberation, the tribunal delivered its verdict. Marie Antoinette was declared guilty of treason and sentenced to death by guillotine, sealing the fate of the last Queen of France. After the Revolutionary Tribunal sentenced Marie Antoinette to death, she was escorted back to her prison cell in the Conciergerie. The long legal battle was over, and there would be no appeal, no rescue, and no last-minute intervention. For the former queen, the remaining hours of her life would be spent preparing for an end she had long feared but now fully accepted. The noise of the courtroom faded behind her, replaced by the silence of a lonely prison chamber where she would spend her final night. She understood that dawn would likely be the last sunrise she would ever see. Rather than surrendering to panic or despair, she chose to focus on the people she loved. Sitting at a small table in her cell, she began writing what would become her final letter, addressed to her sister-in-law, Madame Elizabeth. The letter was filled not with anger or demands for revenge, but with expressions of love, sorrow, and faith. She spoke of her children constantly, knowing she would never see them again. She asked that they remain united and support one another through the hardships ahead. She urged her daughter to remember the values she had tried to teach her and encouraged both children to avoid bitterness. Marie Antoinette also reflected on the death of her husband, King Louis XVI, expressing hope that she would soon be reunited with him. Her words revealed a woman who, despite immense suffering, still sought peace rather than hatred. As the night grew darker, she prayed and reflected on her life. Memories of Versailles, her family, and the happier days of her youth must have crossed her mind. Though she acknowledged her mistakes, she also recognized that much of her fate had been shaped by forces beyond her control. When she finally put down her pen, Marie Antoinette had left behind one last message of dignity and compassion. It was the farewell of a mother, a widow, and a queen facing death with remarkable courage and acceptance. The morning of October 16, 1793, arrived cold and gray over Paris. Marie Antoinette awoke, knowing that it would be the last day of her life. Shortly after dawn, prison officials entered her cell and informed her that the time had come. She dressed in a simple white gown, far removed from the elaborate fashions that had once made her famous throughout Europe. Her hair was cut short by the executioner's assistants, a routine preparation for the guillotine. Though exhausted from months of imprisonment and the emotional strain of her trial, she remained calm and composed. Unlike her husband, King Louis XVI, who had been transported to his execution in a closed carriage, Marie Antoinette was deliberately placed in an open cart. The revolutionary authorities wanted the public to witness the humiliation of the former queen. Her hands were tied behind her back, and soldiers surrounded the vehicle as it began its slow journey through the streets of Paris. Thousands of people lined the route, eager to catch a glimpse of the woman who had once occupied the highest position in France. As the cart rolled forward, the crowd reacted in different ways. Some shouted insults and celebrated her downfall. Others mocked her appearance and cheered for the coming execution. Yet not everyone joined in. A number of spectators watched in silence, struck by the sight of a once powerful queen reduced to a prisoner on her way to death. Whatever their opinions, few could deny the dramatic transformation of her fortunes. Marie Antoinette maintained her dignity throughout the procession. She sat upright and avoided responding to the taunts around her. Witnesses later described her as pale but composed, determined not to give her enemies the satisfaction of seeing fear. The journey lasted nearly an hour, passing through streets crowded with citizens and revolutionary supporters. Finally, the cart approached the Place de la Révolution. Rising above the crowd stood the guillotine, its blade gleaming in the daylight. For Marie Antoinette, the sight confirmed what she had known since the verdict was announced. The final moments of her extraordinary life had arrived. As the cart came to a stop at the Place de la Révolution, Marie Antoinette stepped down and looked toward the towering guillotine that awaited her. The square was packed with spectators. Some had gathered out of curiosity, others out of hatred for the former monarchy, and many simply wanted to witness a moment that would become part of French history. The noise of the crowd echoed through the air, yet Marie Antoinette appeared strangely calm. After months of imprisonment, the loss of her husband, separation from her children, and a trial that had sealed her fate, there was little left to fear. Escorted, she climbed the wooden steps leading to the scaffold. Witnesses observed that she moved steadily despite her exhaustion. In one of the most remembered moments of her final minutes, she accidentally stepped on the foot of the executioner, Charles Henry St. Instinctively, she apologized, saying that she had not done so intentionally. The brief remark reflected the manners and composure she had maintained, even in the face of death. Moments later, she was positioned beneath the blade. The crowd fell into a tense silence as the executioners completed their preparations. Then, with a swift motion, the mechanism was released. The blade fell, and the life of Marie Antoinette ended instantly. She was 37 years old. Her execution marked far more than the death of a single individual. It symbolized the destruction of the French monarchy that had ruled for centuries. For revolutionaries, it represented a triumph of the Republic over royal power. For royalists, it was a tragic and heartbreaking loss. Yet history would continue to debate her legacy long after the cheers in the square had faded. Over the centuries, Marie Antoinette has remained one of the most fascinating figures of the 18th century. Some remember her as a symbol of aristocratic privilege, while others view her as a misunderstood woman caught in the chaos of revolution. Whatever judgment history makes, her final days remain a powerful story of downfall, courage, and the dramatic end of an era.